The Tikar forest is one of the least inhabited places within the continent of Izo. Among locals, it's renowned for the peace it has held for many years. The lush forests have never seen any sort of warfare, and even animal attacks are uncommonly rare. Sadly, it was too good to last. The Empire has sent you to dispatch a small group of brigands hiding within the depths of the forest. Apparently, they have been launching small raids and threatening lumber shipments that are exported from the region. You arrived in the town of Losno yesterday and were lucky enough to find a warm place to sleep. Refugees have been pouring in from the surrounding lands, hoping to get shelter behind town walls. You think about your orders. You are to report to the mayor and see what he has to say about the problem. Perhaps he can shed some light on the situation. You read the sign. Records. You read the sign. Mayor's office. A small, beleaguered man is sitting behind an old, derelict desk, disinterestedly shuffling through all sorts of paperwork. You already met him. He pointed you to the home you slept in last night. He stands up as you address him.
It's about time we got some help. I'm Mayor Vandos, coordinator and administrator of this travesty of a town. I introduced myself last night, but you were pretty tired, so. Anyway, are you ready to get to your mission? I'm sure you'd rather get this done and over with, rather than make idle chatter with me.
Why do you have a purple potted plant?
It was a gift from someone. I don't know who, I just found it outside with a note addressed to me.
He shrugs. What can I find around town?
Well, we have Griver's smithy just across from us, Heron has a shrine just west of the central pavilion, and Yolis has a general magic shop to the south of the shrine. Other than that, there's not much to see.
How long have you been mayor? He grimaces.
A mind-numbing 21 years. Around here, the only thing a mayor is needed for, though, is to handle paperwork and bureaucratic nonsense.
How much paperwork do you actually have?
More than you want to know about, and less than I would normally have.
His pen scratches away, jotting down numbers and information that appears to be nothing more than trivial and useless statistics. What can you tell me about this area?
It's a nice little place, rather pretty. Nothing too spectacular. In fact, we wouldn't stand out at all except for the brigand problem. But that's your job, and I'd suggest you get to it.
Are there any small jobs I can do for you?
No, not really. Just do what you came here to do.
He continues working on paperwork. I'm ready to start my mission. Vandos looks relieved.
Good, I hoped you would say that. Now, as you know full well, the Tikar forest has been harassed by a small group of brigands. It wasn't serious at first, a pilfered caravan or farmhouse now and then. Our initial plan was to dispatch a small contingent from the town guard to deal with them. But when they started increasing the rate of attacks, we had to use every man and woman we could get just to keep the area secure. Thus, we're in a stalemate.
You're in a stalemate with brigands?
Not anymore. While all of this was unfolding, refugees started swarming into town. I'm doing everything I can for them, but they're draining what supplies we have. Pretty soon, we'll either have to starve or surrender. So, really, those vermin are laying siege to this town. With great success.
Where do I fit into this story?
I'm getting to that.
He says angrily.
What you need to do is go to the brigand hideout and do what adventurers do best. Kill them. Killing the leader should suffice, but I'd prefer if you just slay the entire lot of them. You can find a path to their hideout near the lumber camp to the northwest, though I'm pretty sure it's not the only one. You'll be hard-pressed finding the others, though.
That's all for now. Thanks. There's not much here, aside from bureaucratic records, and even those are few and far between. This man is tending a small stall here in the pavilion. It doesn't look like he gets much business, which would explain why he jumps at the chance to sell something to you.
Hi, can I sell you something?
Well, at least he gets to the point. I see 3 stalls here. Why are only you present?
Well, the others disappeared when the brigands started attacking. Sad, isn't it? But I have decent goods and low prices.
Wow, he doesn't lay off the marketing for even a second. Disappeared?
Yeah, those brigands are nasty. They keep making people disappear. But I think my competitors were scared off by my quality wares and low prices.
Do you ever stop advertising? He looks insulted.
Of course I do. I care about all sorts of stuff. Now, since you insulted me, are you going to buy something? You can't find lower prices anywhere.
Let's see your wares. At just those 4 words, Michael immediately starts bombarding you with endorsements and prices. You finish getting accosted. You read the sign, Tikar Lumber Administrative Center. This woman is sitting here doing absolutely nothing. She watches you carefully when you enter.
Don't touch the records. I have a hard enough time keeping them clean without you pawing them. I'm Helen, administrator of the Tikar Lumber Company. And I'd appreciate it if you were to leave the premises as soon as possible.
I see an empty chair here. Did you have a partner?
Yes, though he ran off when the problem started. He was helpful, but then he had to go and get himself killed by brigands. He didn't even consider how that would affect me and my business.
Inconsiderate? He's dead.
Yes, and now I have to manage this company by myself. All because he was scared of a few brigands.
I have another question. Helen is still sitting here and is trying desperately to ignore you. You don't look very busy.
The brigands have brought everything to a halt. We can't import or export anything. Thus, I have nothing to do.
Is lumber a major commodity around here?
Of course. It's our chief export. And with all of the things we have to import to keep this town alive, it's the one thing that keeps the town prosperous.
What is the Tikar Lumber Company?
What does it sound like? We harvest lumber and then sell it to the Empire. Simple as that.
This shop at first appears to be the shop of the resident potioneer. However, the magical machinery doesn't seem to quite fit in the scheme of things. A small man dressed in the robes of a mage is bustling around the shop, ensuring nothing explodes. Then you notice a small sign on the door that says, Yolis's Magic Works, for all magic needs. Sounds promising. This man is bustling about making sure whatever is boiling in his cauldrons doesn't explode. However, he takes a minute to speak with you.
I am Yolis, the town's worker of the arcane. Are you in need of my services?
What services can you provide?
I provide quality potions for many situations, and am quite capable in revealing the true identity of an item. Additionally, I can train you in several spells, or in the arcane ways themselves. So what will it be?
Teach me spells. Yolis eagerly agrees to teach you new spells. Something tells you he hasn't had students in a long time. Prices for one. You finish your training. Teach me about magic. Yolis teaches you about the arcane arts and magic. It's rather surprising to find a mage who shares knowledge like this. You finish your magical education. I'll buy some potions. You finish your potion shopping. Can you identify my items? He looks over your items.
I can tell you what these are for 8 gold per item.
You knew that many refugees had congregated in Losno for safety, but you never imagined this. Over a dozen people have crowded into this back corner of town, inhabiting the local warehouses. Conditions here are simply deplorable. Thankfully, for most of these people, this situation will be rectified shortly. The defenses of this town are not as impressive as they appeared at first glance. There's only 1 or 2 archers every several windows, only just providing an overlapping line of sight. You shudder to think how easily someone could get in here if they actually tried. You read the sign, Shrine of the Many. A priest paces serenely back and forth in this small shrine. It takes a minute to get him to notice you. When he does, however, he dedicates the entirety of his attention to you.
Greetings, adventurers. I am Heron, divine priest of the many. What is it that you wish?
What do you think about the brigand situation?
I think you know the answer to that. It's terrible what's happening, though. I'm constantly getting besieged with soldiers that have been wounded from a raid or getting sniped at from the woods with poison arrows.
Poison arrows? He nods grimly.
Yes. Their archers frequently coat the tips of their arrows with poison to make less grievous wounds fatal. I'd suggest curing that poison quickly. I don't know exactly what they're using, but it's quite potent.
Have a lot of soldiers been getting injured?
Not recently, thankfully. The brigands appear to want to conserve their strength. They don't want to pick fights where it's unnecessary. Thus, as long as soldiers stay relatively close to home, they don't get attacked. Of course, they occasionally decide to snipe at a patrol with poison arrows now and then, but there's not a whole lot we can do there. I just try to keep them alive.
I have another question. Heron focuses all of his attention on you. What is the Shrine of the Many about?
The Shrine of the Many worships all the gods who influence our daily lives. Most temples worship only one or two gods, but followers of the many know the truth. There are millions of gods whom rule us.
He launches off into a list of all the gods they worship. It's an impressive list, really, and it's a marvel that he can remember them all. After some time, you stop him. What do you do here?
I provide enlightenment for those who seek spiritual fulfillment with the many. I also heal the wounded and teach both spells and medicinal skills to passing adventurers. All of which are at your disposal.
He nods humbly. I would like to learn new spells. Heron is an excellent teacher, and he asks only a small payment for his knowledge. Sadly, he only knows the lesser rituals well enough to teach. You finish your training. I would like to learn medicinal techniques. Heron is an excellent teacher, and he asks only a small payment for his knowledge. He knows quite a bit about all sorts of healing methods. You step into the barracks of the town guard. It's rather small, though there wasn't really any call for a large standing guard before now. You imagine that the people who sleep here aren't too happy with the city planning, though. Heat from the nearby smithy is pouring directly into here, making the room uncomfortably warm. You doubt you could get a decent night's rest here anyway. This woman wears the armor of a high-ranking soldier in the Empire Army. The desk she sits behind is covered with paperwork, all of which is currently getting ignored. She holds her head in her hands, apparently exhausted. When you address her, she immediately snaps to attention and shouts.
Get back to the walls.
Then she sees you aren't one of her soldiers.
My apologies. It's been a while since I've last had a decent night's sleep. Allow me to introduce myself. Commander Allison, Garrison Commander of Losno, this backwoods excuse of a town. What do you want?
Have you met any of these brigands in combat?
Yes, and I can tell you that, for the most part, they're nothing special. They just tend to be a little faster and stronger than one would expect. The only reason we haven't destroyed them yet is because they outnumber us 2 to 1. Fortunately, with you here, that should change.
She smiles slightly. Any tips on fighting the brigands?
As a matter of fact, yes. Always go after their archers and spellcasters first. Those are the ones that pose any major threat. Especially the archers. I've lost some of my men to their arrows.
You're happy to see adventurers?
I'm happy to see anyone who can get us out of this mess. I'm not about to let my own personal pride get in the way.
I have another question.
What now, adventurers?
How fares this garrison?
Poorly. Most of the soldiers are exhausted and their morale is dropping drastically. I don't blame them either. We're fighting a foe that strikes from the wilderness without any warning and disappears just as quickly.
Whoa, this has got to be the smallest mess hall you have ever seen. It fits a meager 6 people at a time, and there's only a small pot of stew ready to eat. People around here must not get hungry often. You step into the smithy and are immediately greeted with a wave of incredible heat. The air in here is hot almost to the point of causing blisters, despite the numerous windows. Inside, you see a man pounding a piece of metal into shape on an anvil. Eventually, he angrily throws the hammer aside and spews vulgarities. The problems affecting the region are present here as well. The man here is sweating profusely. No surprise considering how hot it is in here. After a while, he notices you and introduces himself.
I'm Griver, smith, maker of weapons and armor. So, what do you want?
What's in that back room? He looks at what you're dressing.
Oh, that's my storeroom, where I keep the excess equipment. And if you enjoy living, you would be wise to stay away from there.
He goes back to work. Where do you get the metal?
It's imported, like most of the stuff around here. We even import food. The only thing we really make ourselves is lumber, which we export enough of to compensate.
You don't talk a lot, do you?
No. Not since.
The sentence trails off. He doesn't bother to elaborate. I'd like to purchase something.
What will it be? I've got weapons, armor, and missile weapons.
I'll buy some armor. Griver sells armor here for rather steep prices. He also is fairly quiet for a salesman, which is nice. You finish your outfitting. I'll buy some weapons. Griver sells weapons here for rather steep prices. He also is fairly quiet for a salesman, which is nice. You finish your arming. I'll buy some missiles. Griver sells projectile weapons here for rather steep prices. He also is fairly quiet for a salesman, which is nice. You finish your arming. Wait, you sell bows and arrows? I thought this was a smithy. He looks upset at you bringing it up.
I don't wish to talk about it. It is something I will deal with by myself.
Are you sure? He thinks about it for a long time. Eventually, he gets up and continues hammering a piece of iron into shape. However, just as you are about to leave, he speaks in a low voice, as if he can barely stand to tell you.
My brother made these. He did it as a hobby, hoping that he could become a Fletcher as well as a smith. But those.
He struggles with himself, seemingly trying to get the words out.
We live outside of town. One night, he went out to retrieve some of his belongings from our house. He never came back. Please, leave. Give me peace. I've told you all I can stand.
He turns away and ignores you, hammering away on an anvil. As you attempt to leave, a A young woman in near hysterics runs up to you, calling for you to wait. You turn and see what she wants. She quickly introduces herself as Layla and gets straight to the point of why she's here.
Adventurers, my husband Lyle and I came here a week ago to keep safe from the bandits. However, Lyle went back to our home to retrieve some of our possessions, and he never came back. It's been almost 5 days, and he still hasn't returned. Please, adventurers, I'm begging you. Find my husband and bring him home safely. I can't bear to lose him.
She goes on like this for a while. Eventually, she describes him to you without actually saying you would help her. Either way, you should be able to recognize him now if you see him. Layla is pacing around at the front gate, clearly upset.
Have you found my husband?
I haven't found him yet. She nods grimly.
I suppose that's a good thing. Maybe he isn't dead.
She walks away silently. You can't help but notice that most of the houses you pass have been either abandoned or ransacked. It appears that their occupants have either sought refuge in Losno or fled the area entirely. You meet a band of soldiers attempting to keep the Losno area secure. They half-heartedly warn you about the bandits and move on. You encounter a small contingent of brigands guarding this path. They attack you on sight. Oddly enough, they don't behave like normal brigands. They stay essentially silent during their charge. You find another, slightly larger gang of bandits waiting for you. They attack in their unusual, silent manner. It's a little unnerving. These brigands are gathered around what appears to be an apprentice mage performing magic. When they spot you, however, the mage decides to apply his magic for more destructive purposes. You start to approach the Brigand Camp, but notice several guard posts with archers contained safely inside. Looking around, you find a side route through the woods from which to approach safely. You have no doubt you were seen, however. You can see a group of brigands already closing on your position. You expect heavy resistance as you close on the leader of the brigands. What's going on here? These sleeping quarters are better fit for cattle than human habitation. It's nothing more than a mess of straw sleeping pads strewn across the floor with 3 boxes in the corner for possessions. It's almost as if someone was treating these bandits as nothing more than slave labor. Now this is sad. The box contains clothes and garments that, from the look and smell of things, haven't been laundered for a couple weeks. Nothing you would want. You walked straight into a trap. Brigands quickly knock you out. When you wake up, you're in some sort of audience chamber. Takes you a moment to regain your senses. However, you soon realize you're in no position to resist. A massive gang of brigands surrounds you, capable of chopping you into bits within seconds. Most interestingly, though, is the leader of the brigands. To be honest, she's not very impressive. It definitely looks like time hasn't been kind to her, and she appears so frail that a gentle breeze would knock her over. Then she looks up, and you instantly see who she really is. A witch. Her frail appearance is merely a disguise, hiding immense power. More than likely, she's been controlling these brigands all along. She smiles wickedly at you.
So, the fools finally send someone to fight me? How typical of them to resist, to fight the inevitable. I cannot be destroyed by the likes of you. Perhaps I will demonstrate to them my powers. I will control the world, know that. All humans will be under my command, and I will get vengeance. Do not think one as insignificant as you will change that.
She thinks for a minute.
Take them to the prison, and prepare to process them. I must rest.
Process? That doesn't sound good. Unfortunately, you don't get to ponder what she said very much. Several brigands grab you and drag you off to a small prison inside their master's home. You were stripped of all of your equipment and left in an extremely cramped cell for several hours. Eventually, a brigand comes in carrying a potion, which you have no doubt is meant for you. He opens the cell, and you realize that you now have an opportunity to escape. All you need to do is kill this brigand. the brigand finally falls, succumbing to the massive number of blows you dealt to him. You finally get a good look at the man, and the proof of your theory is at hand. This was Lyle, the husband of the woman who ran up to you at the Losno gates. You have no doubt that she will be devastated to hear of her husband's demise. This is why people are disappearing and why the brigands are growing stronger. That which is taking the minds of those unfortunate enough to cross her path to build an army. Then who knows exactly what she'll do with it? One thing's for certain. There's no chance of you taking her alone, not without some sort of help. You need to get back to Losno and inform the mayor of what's happened. He might be able to provide the aid you need. You have to admit, this bandit fort is well designed. 2 archer posts guard the main hall, capable of firing on anyone entering without fearing heavy retaliation. You may have the advantage of surprise, but you doubt it'll get you very far. This is quite obviously a makeshift forge. Brigands here work with stolen metal to make items to support their way of life. Sadly, it appears most of these are trivial items such as doorknobs and trophies that adorn the walls. You don't get too much time to absorb all of this though. 2 brigands are working here and don't appreciate the intrusion. This room is basically a small catwalk over a large refuse pit. The smell in here is horrid. The pit is filled with all manner of garbage and, to your horror, bodies. 2 brigands were adding to the refuse when you walked in. They're now determined to make sure new corpses get added to the pit. No self-respecting clan of brigands wouldn't have a place to store loot, and this mind-controlled group is no exception. Small amounts of coin and barterable goods are stored in these boxes. And now they're yours. This appears to be an armory of sorts. At any rate, from the arrows in the nearby barrel, it's definitely where they keep their weapons and armor. Perhaps you could find something useful here. There's nothing in the world that could make you voluntarily go back in there right now. Most of the brigands are probably still gathered in there, and in your state, you'd just be asking for death. This room is full of cauldrons simmering with a potion similar to the one that Lyle tried to force-feed you. Each one is a sickly reddish-brown color, and, if that wasn't repulsive enough, is putting off putrid fumes. The brigands here don't seem to mind, though. They are essentially drinking it straight out of the cauldrons. When you intrude, they attack with an unusual vigor. Now this is creepy. Someone built a shrine back here, for reasons best known to him or herself. However, it's decorated in the same motif as the rest of the building, minus the mosaic floor. A nearby obelisk indicates that this shrine is not one of the holier ones around. You read the obelisk. Shrine of the Shadow. This is a find. This gruesome trophy has a silver orb in its mouth. Examining it more carefully, you notice that the orb is actually magical and could be pried out of the trophy's mouth. It could be dangerous, though. You have no idea what this object does, and the trophy could easily be trapped. Still, you could take it if you wanted. Take the orb. Ouch! The second you pry the orb out of the trophy's mouth, it snaps shut on your hand, causing severe harm. Fortunately, you don't lose your hand, and you got the mysterious silver orb. Unfortunately, it becomes blatantly obvious that the fangs of the trophy were poisoned, especially when it turns fatal. You found this strange orb in the mouth of a decoration in the Brigand Camp. It's magical, but you don't know what it does. Perhaps someone experienced in magic could tell you? I need healing. He nods again.
I am sorry to hear that. Exactly what form of healing do you require? I can heal your wounds or revive a lost party member. Normal healing costs a meager 25 gold. Reviving someone costs 150 gold.
Someone needs to be revived. Pay 150 coins. Heron starts a low, hardly audible chant. Soon, it starts accelerating and growing louder. Holy energy builds up around Heron. The chanting reaches a fevered crescendo. Then, with a bright flash, your fallen comrade is restored. Layla is pacing around at the front gate, clearly upset.
Have you found my husband?
Yes, I did. The brigands killed him. Layla is stunned.
He's dead?
Her voice quavers slightly, and she seems to be on the verge of an emotional meltdown.
No. He was supposed to come home. He can't have died. He can't.
She breaks down into a sobbing mess on the ground. You can't honestly think of anything to say, though that might be for the best. You leave her to her grief. Vandos looks out the window with a resigned expression before returning his attention to you.
Anything else?
I saw the refugees near the warehouses. Is there anything you can do for them?
You mean besides allowing them refuge inside town, and starving ourselves to keep them alive? No, not really.
He looks irritated at you, suggesting he's not doing enough.
Look, I know it looks bad, alright? But it could be a hell of a lot worse. Right now, they have a safe place to sleep and some rations of food, no matter how meager. We can't do any more for them without endangering ourselves and, by proxy, them.
Are you sure there isn't any more you could do for them?
Yes, I'm sure. We're in just as deep as them, even though it doesn't appear that way. I'm having to ration food to the entire town, not just the refugees. Almost everyone is down to 1 meal a day, including myself. I'm doing everything I can here to keep this town alive. I'd appreciate it if you'd stop suggesting otherwise.
Why have they all come here?
Is the fact that there are deadly heartless brigands swarming the area not enough justification for you? Is it not enough that anyone who leaves the safety of the town tends to end up dead? Or missing? I don't know about you, but the average person usually prefers to remain alive. So unless you think I should have let them all die out there, which I doubt, then suffice it to say that they have their reasons for coming into town.
Wait, if everyone's a target, how did I get here unharmed?
Well, I'd imagine they didn't deem you much of a threat. They don't seem to attack people that might cause them to take heavy losses, not without good reason anyway. That's why a small band of adventurers can get through. However, if you were a supply caravan going in either direction, or were one of our messengers pleading for help, I could pretty much guarantee that you would be dead before you left the area. Don't let this go to your head, though. I would be surprised if you weren't attacked at least once in the surrounding wilderness. Not much seems to escape their notice.
Are they really that dangerous?
Almost everyone who could tell you for sure are either dead or missing. There were 2 survivors from a caravan who told us that the brigands attacked without warning, and didn't even offer surrender. They simply attacked, pillaged, and killed. They were pretty shaken up about the whole incident. So much so that they wanted to get as far away from here as possible as soon as they could. I'd imagine they're dead now.
I have another question. We have a slight problem. Describe what happened. You tell the mayor what happened in the brigand lair. He turns pale as you describe the true identity of the brigands.
Dear Lord.
He whispers.
I never thought. Never mind. Right now, your mission is to break this witch's hold over the brigands. I think I know how to do it, too. Iolaus, our town mage, was telling me all about a disruption crystal he received recently. I'm sure he'll give it to you and show you how to use it. Then, go back there and teach that witch about how we accommodate threats against our existence.
With that, he shuffles through more paperwork.
What do you need now, adventurers?
I need your disruption crystal. Tell him about the situation. At the end of your explanation, he slowly shuffles to the back wall of his store and pulls out a beautiful, glowing purple crystal. Then he hands it to you and explains how it works. He finishes with,
Be cautious with that. I only have that one crystal.
Then he resumes with his business. You re-enter the Brigand Camp with the disruption crystal. This should be a simple matter of walking into the audience chamber and setting it off. Hopefully, you can turn the witch's forces on her. You really have to stop falling for that trap. This time, the brigands merely subdue you and drag you to the witch's audience chamber. You again stand before the witch. This time, she looks rather amused at your antics.
I should have predicted some sort of foolhardy attempt on my life, but I suppose that fools are hard to predict. Do not fret, adventurers. I'll make this as painful as possible.
She smiles widely, anticipating what's coming next.
Servants, destroy them.
As the brigands on either side of you start to advance, you take your one opportunity. You grab the crystal, hold it high in the air, and activate it. The crystal flashes brightly and all the brigands stop. However, no other effect seems to be had.
Huh.
The witch exclaims triumphantly.
It didn't.
She screams loudly, drowning out whatever she was originally going to say. An arrow is sticking out of the wall behind her, inches from her neck. And in an instant, the brigands start turning on each other and the witch. Finally, the witch falls. Her power falters and you can see her control on the remaining brigands fading away completely. Then she simply collapses into a small pile of gray dust. The brigands stop fighting each other and you. Now, they simply look dazed and confused, incapable of any coherent thought. Then, finally, some of them regain their mind and senses and start leading the others out. Soon, they all filter out, leaving you alone in the small audience chamber. You think about what you've accomplished here. You removed the brigand menace and freed many of the kidnapped civilians. Hopefully, this never happens again. All that's left to do is return to Losno and claim your reward. There's no rush, though. You feel you could explore this place a little more thoroughly now that it's empty. This appears to be the bedroom of the witch. It's rather sparse, but compared to how the brigands were probably sleeping, this is unimagined luxury. This tome appears to be the personal diary of the witch you fought in the other room. You look through it eagerly, but to your disappointment, the diary seems to belong to a young girl. However, you continue going through it, and eventually find an entry further in that appears interesting. Daddy says we have to go today. He says mean people in town don't want him around anymore. Now we're going to a small hut of Daddy's in the woods. He says we will make a new life there. Skipping forward several years, you find. I went to Losno today, despite Father's concerns. Unfortunately, he was right. My return was met with disapproval and scorn. They refused to let my father return from his exile and still believe him guilty of heinous crimes. However, I will not let this slight go unpunished. My father was exiled for crimes he didn't commit. I will make sure they feel our pain 1,000-fold before I die. No one knows the power that I now possess, ready to be unleashed. They will tremble before me. They will beg mercy of me. I will avenge my father. Continues on like this for a long time. You notice that the entries are becoming more demented with every page, as if the power she received had started corrupting her. Eventually, it breaks down to insane rantings and illegible gibberish. You skip ahead to the last few pages. Aside from going insane, she was working on casting energy-based spells. Eventually, she mastered lightning spray, and despite her poor penmanship, you can easily understand the magical formulae she used. Everyone in your party with enough mage spell skill now knows how to cast lightning spray. Furthermore, it appears she was also learning how to summon ethereal entities to aid her in combat. Thankfully, it doesn't look like she completed her research before you killed her. You look through the witch's diary again, but find nothing of interest. We found the witch's journal in the Brigand Camp. Explain its contents. You explain what you found in the journal, and when you reach the part about her father getting exiled, his eyes suddenly widen with shock.
Unbelievable. Everything we went through was simply over some petty grudge.
He shakes his head in disgust and curses quite audibly.
I was mayor when this whole travesty started. There were witnesses who could place her father at the scene of his crime. He supposedly attacked a small group of traveling merchants. I knew he hadn't, as had most of the townsfolk. The witnesses, though, were sure of what they saw, and if I didn't comply, they could easily accuse me of being an accomplice. Then I would have been subjected to the Empire's standard punishment: death. Fortunately, I managed to reach a sort of middle ground. Instead of ordering his execution, I exiled him so that he could survive and live out his life. His daughter went with him.
He pauses for a moment.
About 8 years later, his daughter came back. She demanded that I clear her father's name, but at the time, my hands were still tied. There was nothing I could do, but I couldn't let on that I knew he was innocent.
Then what?
Naturally, she was upset. She stormed out of town without looking back. I felt for her, and, honestly, I couldn't say I wouldn't have done what she did had I been in her position. However, I think that in the end, it was more about getting revenge for herself. Otherwise, she would have known that her father's name has been clear for 2 months now, and was recently living here in Losno.
Wait, what?
Yep. Turns out that the so-called witnesses were actually the perpetrators of the crime. They were caught attacking what they thought was another merchant caravan. They were actually Empire soldiers, and, well, you know what happens to brigands. Anyway, he didn't stay long. He decided to move back to more civilized areas of the Empire and forge a new life for himself. Can't really blame him. He had it rough for several years, thanks to us.
The witch will trouble you no more. Describe what happened. He lights up when you tell him the tale of how you slew the witch.
Excellent. Finally, a bit of good news.
He presents you with a decent-sized bag of gold.
Maybe now, our shattered world can finally start getting back to normal. I cannot properly display how grateful I am for you doing this.
He starts to get back to paperwork, but then remembers something.
Oh, and Iolaus will need that disruption crystal back. So if you could just give it to me, I'll make sure it gets back to him.
Grudgingly, you hand back the disruption crystal. What happens now? Vandos sighs and looks out the window for some time. Then, without looking at you, he says,
We rebuild. We repair our shattered lives. We mourn the dead. But foremost, we try to get past this. Nothing like this has ever happened before. I doubt the people who were controlled will ever be able to get their lives back. They just suffered too much. Hopefully they can build some sort of lives for themselves, but I doubt it.
He reluctantly gets back to paperwork. With no warning, a large magical barrier appears in front of you, blocking your path. Just as suddenly, shades fade into reality around you, ready to tear you to pieces, and alarm spreads throughout the town. As you try to recover from the shock of the current events, you hear a mad cackle behind you. The witch stands in the town pavilion, summoning additional shades. You can't fathom how she survived, but her eyes glow even more dementedly, and she acts as if something has possessed her. She wantonly uses her power, causing incredible havoc. You prepare to face her one last time. Something amongst your equipment heats up drastically. It's the silver orb you found in the brigand lair. You take it out and examine it for a moment. When you do, all the nearby shades seem to freeze. It's as if they suddenly became deactivated or dazed. Strange, but helpful. The witch screams out in frustration as all her schemes and plans fall apart around her. Her power is starting to consume her and is completely out of control. Finally, she lets out one last scream of anguish and crumbles into a small pile of ash. All of the shades that were under her control also fade, no longer powered by their master. It looks like your job is finally over. These people can finally start repairing their lives. You search through this cabinet carefully, hoping to find a trove of weapons and armor, but this one seems to be full of tools required by a smith. Not completely satisfied, you poke around a bit further. Eventually, it pays off. Hidden behind all of the tools is a short sword. Its blade is honed to a razor-sharp edge, and it's putting off some sort of magical aura. Not one to pass up such an opportunity, you take it. This road leads away from the Tikar forest and into more secure Empire lands. It would be very easy to leave this place and never return. You did what you came here to do. The Tikar forest will hopefully have many more years of peace and prosperity now that the brigands are gone. Do you wish to leave the scenario? Yes, leave the scenario. You set course for the nearest Empire city outside of Tikar, and after that to adventures elsewhere. You hope that the people here can recover from this tragedy, but you did all you could do here. The end.